Future Gohan is often said to be the version of Gohan that fans have always wanted. A version who trained for years, a version who was pushed by the world around him, and a version who had no fear to put his life and die for others. But the one flaw that he had was his power. But to dive deeper into this video, alrighty guys, it is Qaaman here today, and in this video I'll be discussing who is the real Future Gohan, as I will state some interesting facts, compare all versions of Future Gohan, along with sharing some personal insight into this version of Gohan himself. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight into this video. So let's start off with some interesting facts. The first fact is more of a popular observed fan fact in the sense that Future Gohan has often been compared to Yamcha in terms of appearance, since they both have scars on their face along with a somewhat similar haircut. Next, Future Gohan has made his first official video game appearance in Dragon Ball Z Legacy of Goku 2. However, Future Gohan was first playable in the Dragon Ball Z Sagas video game, a video game that I don't have a very strong opinion on, but interestingly enough, there is actually a version of Future Gohan that you can play with on that game with one arm, and I felt that that was actually pretty cool nonetheless. Future Gohan was voiced by Damian Clark in The History of Trunks. However, he was voiced by Kyle Aber in the Dragon Ball Z video game, Budokai Tenkaichi 3, and I always found that that was kind of an interesting twist, since Damian Clark could have easily played Future Gohan over again. And for those of you who are wondering, Masako Nozawa did voice Future Gohan in the Japanese dub, just like she did for all of the versions of Goku and his family. In addition, it's pretty much confirmed that Future Gohan has taught Trunks the Masenko, as Trunks was shown using it against Broly in the Broly the Legendary Super Saiyan movie, and when Future Trunks was shown using it against Black Goku in Dragon Ball Super, so you can kinda just say that Gohan did teach Future Trunks the Masenko, and many fans have actually theorized that the burning attack might actually be a variant of the Masenko used by Trunks. Also, interestingly enough, although he never used it, Future Gohan was shown using the special beam cannon in Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3, and I find that kind of interesting because he was never actually shown using that in the actual series itself, but it was good for a video game. And furthermore, one fact that encompasses multiple forms of Gohan is the fact that Future Gohan, Teen Gohan, and even GT Gohan have all been shown before fighting with one usable arm. Future Gohan did it against the androids, Teen Gohan did it against Cell, and GT Gohan did it against General Rildo. Funny enough, all of the villains that they fought were either androids or artificial in some manner. And since we're on the subject of arms, have you noticed that both Future Gohan and Teen Gohan both got their arms injured protecting both Vegeta and Trunks from Dr. Gero's creations? Funny enough, in both instances, Trunks was knocked out or killed for the time being, as Trunks was knocked out in the History of Trunks adaptation of the story, and he was killed by Cell in the present timeline that we know. Now let's move on to some differences from all the versions of Future Gohan. The manga and the Japanese dub had a much stronger implication that Future Gohan knew with absolute certainty that he was going to die, as opposed to the English dub where it seemed like it was more or less of a do or die situation. Gohan mentions that if Trunks were to die too, no one would be left to defend Earth, and tells him farewell if you're going with the Japanese or the manga adaptations that said something in a very similar fashion. However, in the English dub, Future Gohan mentions that Trunks isn't yet ready to fight against the androids, which is making it more of a do or die situation, as Gohan also mentions to Trunks that he is more vulnerable when Trunks is with him. So it's a slightly more exaggerated interpretation. Now, let me discuss some 3 important dates and their relation to Future Gohan. The Trunks the Lone Warrior manga special came out on August 11th, 1992. The Goals from Tomorrow filler episode came out on November 11th, 1992. And The History of Trunks came out on February 24th of 1993. Now, why are these dates important? Well, it's because of the fact that Future Gohan had 2 arms in the Goals from Tomorrow filler episode. Why is this interesting? The thing is that the manga chapter had already been released in August showing Gohan with only one arm, so when the filler episode came out, Gohan should not have had 2 arms. The reasons for this are unknown, but my educated guess is the fact that maybe Toei was just providing a flashback that loosely correlated with the actual story itself. Now moving on to a third difference, I have mentioned this in other videos before, but for those of you who don't know, there is a major power scaling difference between Gohan in the manga versus the filler episode and the special. In the manga, 17 states to Gohan that he didn't even use half of his power in their previous fight, making Gohan seem like the weakest out of the 3 versions. In the filler episode, Gohan seemed weaker than both androids individually, but seemed to have at least a slight effect against the androids while fighting them. And in the history of Trunks, Gohan held his own the best by actually managing to hold off the androids for a while, and by forcing them to fight seriously, making him look like the strongest out of all 3 versions. I should also mention that in terms of power, the anime made Future Gohan seem much stronger than Trunks in his battle to avenge both Gohan and humanity. I say this because of the fact that Gohan managed to hold his own and actually force the androids to fight significantly harder against him, and in Trunks' case, the androids were literally just playing with him the entire time. However, if you actually look at the manga, it is not shown how much of a fight both Gohan or Trunks put up against the androids, as they literally just cut the scene to Gohan being dead or Trunks being in the hospital. For my fourth difference, I should mention that in the history of Trunks, Gohan's death actually helped Trunks become a Super Saiyan with that emotional tension. But this actually wasn't the case in the other versions. In the Ghost from Tomorrow filler episode, Gohan was shown dying off screen, and it did not show anything of Trunks becoming a Super Saiyan as a result of that. And if you actually look at the manga adaptation, Trunks already knew how to become a Super Saiyan even before Future Gohan's death. However, recently Dragon Ball Super has shown that it is accepting the events of the history of Trunks over the other versions, as they showed Trunks becoming a Super Saiyan after Future Gohan died, and I think I understand why Dragon Ball Super is accepting this version out of the 3 versions, because of the fact that this is probably the most popular storyline and it's definitely the most dramatic. And last but not least, the manga implies that Gohan's arm was amputated due to his fight with the androids. Trunks states that if the sensu plant hadn't died out, Gohan's arm would have healed years ago. The fact that he said healed implies that his arm had to be amputated due to the bad damage, instead of completely restoring it with the sensu bean and it being completely gone. This puts into question the power of the sensu bean's ability to actually restore limbs. So let's put some personal insight into this video. I've said before that a lot of Gohan fans do not necessarily like the older versions of Gohan because he regressed in power, not necessarily counting his Ultimate Gohan or his Mystic Gohan form when he got his potential unlocked. However, I do think that most fans would probably agree that Future Gohan's personality and will, along with Teen Gohan or Ultimate Gohan's power, would have made Gohan a much more popular character amongst fans. And last but not least, one thing I have to mention is actually related to fan fiction. There are certain people who love Dragon Ball Multiverse, and there are those who hate it. However, I find it quite hilarious that in Dragon Ball Multiverse, there was actually a chapter for the Future Majin attack, and in it, Future Gohan actually manages to defeat a weakened Deborah who gave his energy to revive Majin Buu, in addition to defeating Babidi himself. And this actually correlates to Future Trunks in Dragon Ball Super, as we saw him defeat both Deborah and Babidi just as Future Gohan did in Dragon Ball Multiverse. So although it's non-canon, I thought this was an interesting thing to point out. So guys, that has been my video for today. Overall, Future Gohan was a brief but awesome character who definitely got some shine in non-canon storylines such as Shin Budokai, where he learned Super Saiyan 2 and ultimately got his potential unlocked. Future Gohan was the warrior that never was, and I felt that he deserved his own video. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and in addition to this video, please check out my very first Dragon Ball segment on why wasn't Future Gohan stronger to the left, and check out my other video to the right on what if Future Gohan had gone back to the past. And these are two older videos that I shared that give a lot more insight onto Future Gohan or a scenario that he could have been involved with himself. So with everything else said, please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And remember, as I always say, to have a great day, guys. And for our hashtag of the day, I have the one-armed assassin.